Hello and welcome to this edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Paul Werlin.
And I'm Hannah Perlmutter.
At Arlington Public News, we bring you stories of interest to Arlington and surrounding communities. In tonight's newscast, we look at the town's snow recovery. We learn more about Boston's bid for the 2024 Olympics.
Plus, Chris DeBenedictis gives us the scoop on Oscar-nominated films. That and more up next. Please stay with us.
Harsh winters and blizzards are no surprise to New England natives, but with record snowfalls taking a toll, APN took a recent tour around Arlington to hear how the community is coping with all this snow.
Due to the record snowfall, valuable parking spaces and sidewalks are being taken up by the snow. With more snow in the forecast this evening, Arlington Public News asked, where are you putting the snow? Arlington residents are preparing for yet another snowstorm that could deliver a foot of snow or more. Arlington Town Manager Adam Chapter says town workers are working hard removing the snow as fast as they can.
The areas that we have been utilizing are the reservoir parking lot. We've fenced that off to protect the reservoir, and we are putting snow there. We are also using a small spot at the rink parking lot to store some snow. We have a private contractor who's been trucking snow out of town to an off-site private facility. And finally, just yesterday, through working through the parish at St. Camillus, they've allowed us to use that lot next to the parish, the paved lot that's fenced in.
The priority of clearing snow starts on the main roads, like Massachusetts Avenue, trying to clear the street and make them as wide as possible for both driving and parking. Town workers are also focusing on clearing school routes as well as clearing crosswalks and corners of streets. Arlington residents may not be happy with the weather, but they are very thankful for all the town has been doing for them.
It looks to me like they've been doing a pretty good job. I mean, it's always obviously really tough. There's nowhere to put the snow.
Most of the snow removal budget was used in the initial blizzard 2 weeks ago. There is 3 reserve funds in the budget just in case the snow removal budget runs dry. From Arlington Public News, I'm Tyler Trudeau.
Just as Arlington residents are struggling with where to put all the snow accumulating around their homes, the town itself is also faced with a monumental challenge. Town Manager Adam Chapter stopped by our studio to discuss the situation.
Hello and welcome. I'm James Milan, and I'm here in the studio with Adam Chapter, our town manager, and we're here to talk about the unprecedented amount of snow that we have all been dealing with over the last few weeks, and the fact that more is forecast in the near future. So, Adam, obviously there's snow everywhere. Everybody is experiencing the effects of it daily. So, can you just give us an idea of what the plan going forward here is now?
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to come in and give this message out to the public. So the past couple weeks, as you mentioned, unprecedented amount of snow. No one's joking when we say there's 6 feet of snow outside, because it literally is just, I think, a quarter of an inch short of 6 feet. So outside of the storms, what we've been focusing on is getting the main roads as clear and as wide as possible. And that's really taken the form of some overnight efforts that we've put on Mass Ave. So you'll see, starting at the Cambridge line, we've started to clear out Mass Ave to provide more width, both for driving and for parking, so that we can ease traffic and transit in the morning. After that, we've been focusing on routes to schools. So after cleaning out the immediate school sites, we then have priority tiers radiating out from the schools, where we open up crosswalks, sidewalks, and make sure that the routes that the kids walk to schools are safe. So that's where we are now. We're still working on Mass Ave. We're working a little bit on Broadway, focusing on those routes to schools. After that, we're taking a look at the weekend. We know there's a forecasted storm. It's probably going to be plowable. We don't know if it's 6, 12, a little bit more than 12. So we want to make sure that we moderate the use of resources appropriately so that we're ready for that storm. By resources, I mean manpower and the hours that they've been working, as well as salt, to make sure that we're ready for that storm. Going forward, looking at next week, we know we've got a situation where roads are very narrow all over town. We have a town-wide parking ban except for Mass Ave and Broadway, and that's really solely for reasons of public safety, to make sure that we can get ambulances and fire engines down the streets if we need to. So looking forward to next week, we are going to use public safety. We're going to use the fire chief and the police chief and their resources to really guide us as to where we need to start getting the roads wider so that we can consider allowing parking and make sure that we have a safe situation across town. So once we get through that weekend storm, we're going to start to prioritize work in the neighborhoods. We're not going to widen every neighborhood street. We'd probably take until it was all melted to do that. But we're going to try to start prioritizing, communicate with the residents, and start to try to alleviate some of the burden that everyone's feeling.
Obviously, all of this snow removal and all the other work that town officials are doing will, in the end, cost money. So
Yes.
how are we going to pay for this? What is the financial impact likely to be for Arlington residents?
So the snow budget for FY15 this current fiscal year was $771,000. So we used that up and more through the blizzard. And since the event that qualified officially as a meteorological blizzard. But we always have a plan in place for snow and ice overages. So there's a few things that the state allows a city or town to deficit spend for, and then to raise what they deficit spent in the following fiscal year on the tax rate, and snow and ice removal is one of them. And that's because of the fluctuations. Right. I think 3 or 4 years ago, we spent about $500,000 on snow removal. Last year, we spent 1.8. So there's dramatic fluctuations in what you spend. So we have that $700,000+ in the budget. We then set aside in next year's budget in anticipation of possibly spending up to $500,000. So we have that. And then we also have an operating reserve fund that annually is funded at $1 million. And that's not just for snow and ice, but it can be used for snow and ice. So we basically have 3 tiers of ability to try to cover snow and ice costs. If this trend continues, there could reach a point where we have exhausted the reserves even that we've put aside. But right now, working with the Finance Committee and with DPW monitoring the costs, we do have resources available to be able to pay for the removal that we're incurring.
That's very reassuring.
So with all the frustrations out there and the inconveniences that are certainly there, if you see someone from DPW, smile at them, thank them. They've been working countless hours, putting in all their efforts to do the best they can. And the situation being what it is, sometimes doesn't always result in what the resident wants or what any of us want, but they are really, really working hard. And if you have that opportunity to say thank you, I think it'd be well deserved.
For ACMi and Arlington Public News, this is James Milan. Thanks for joining us.
Regardless of all of this snow, I must say I think Arlington is handling it really well.
I think so too. I think everybody has a good mood about it, and that's a testament to the community, I think. An extended jury selection process has delayed the start of the Boston Marathon trial. Over 1,000 prospective jurors have completed questionnaires to screen their backgrounds in an attempt to ensure that Dzhokhar Tsarnaev can receive a fair trial in Boston. APN News intern Jamie Maffio has secured a spot in the courtroom to monitor the jury selection process and tells us about that experience.
Hello, everyone. I'm James Milan, and I'm here with Jamie Maffio, who is an intern here at Arlington Public News. And we have an unusual opportunity today. Through some good connections and her own initiative and the support of Arlington Public News, Jamie has secured a press pass to attend the Boston Marathon trial that is now in the jury selection stage, where it has been for a while now, right,
Yeah,
Jamie?
Definitely.
Tell it, how many days, for instance, have they been speaking to jurors at this point?
I believe today is the 17th, and so far they've gone through 183.
183 jurors. So how are they arranging at the courtroom for the amount of, the sheer numbers of people who would be there?
Each time I've gone, it's only been maybe more than a dozen people, like I would say 15, if that, sometimes a little bit fewer. So I'm guessing, when it first started, there were a ton of people, and I guess
Right, as
simmered down.
Right, as the questions wear on, and I assume there's a certain amount of repetition in these various interviews. Tell us something about the dynamic that you've picked up, the dynamic between the judge and the defense lawyer, the judge and the prosecution and the witness,
Right.
the prospective juror, et cetera.
Yeah, definitely. I think when it sort of, it can get tedious, but one of the more interesting moments is when you have the lawyers and prosecutors asking questions, and then they'll one will object to a certain question, and you sort of try to piece together, well, why did they object to that? Sometimes it might be more obvious.
Now, I know you've been to several been there for several days already, and the plan is to continue to attend regularly, right?
Yes.
And you'll be keeping track of that on a blog, I understand. Is that right?
Yes. I'll be writing sort of posts about my experience there, what's sort of going on, as well as, as a college student, if you're just starting to follow it, sort of the legal aspects you can get kind of bogged down in. So I guess sort of I'll also be posting helpful things to note when you're researching it, just sort of basic things like where are we right now in this, and sort of also just to the experience, and then also maybe highlights from what I've heard from the prospective jurors.
We are lucky enough here at Arlington Public News to have our own personal correspondent in or very, very close to the courtroom in which these things will be happening. So stay tuned, tune in to Jamie's blog and to our own continuing coverage of this and other events in the Arlington area. For Jamie Muffio, I'm James Milan from Arlington Public News, and thanks for joining us.
The 2024 Olympics has become a topic of debate in the city of Boston, whose bid to host the 2024 Games has sparked both support and opposition. The ultimate question is, would the Games be beneficial or harmful to Boston's culture and economy? APN intern Tyler Trudeau begins his investigation of this issue by hitting the streets to hear what residents think.
I'm in the Boston Common, where behind me a temporary beach volleyball stadium may be placed if the Olympics do indeed come to Boston in 2024. I went around the Back Bay and Arlington area to see what people think of the Olympics coming to Boston.
I love sports. I think it would just be a great thing for it to be here. I think the tourists would be great, but I know that the MBTA would have to be revised in some way. I don't think that it would be able to handle that many people the way that it's set up at this point in time.
As much as I think it would be great for Boston economically, I don't think it's going to be good as a student here. I definitely think the influx of people is going to cause the public transportation to shut down, but I do think that it would be a fun thing to have overall.
Probably hurt us more than anything with finding a location, traffic.
Traffic's gonna be a nightmare. It already is. So with that, but I'm all for it.
Well, I think it would be great if it were to happen. It would be nice to have the Olympics return to here.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It could really bring a lot of tourism. Brings a lot of money to the city.
I think probably the negatives outweigh the positives. It'd be kind of fun, be kind of cool. They'd like, hey, yeah. But I think the cost overruns and everything. That's my guess, that it would be a negative rather than a positive.
Traffic and transportation logistics are top concerns for residents. Find out what the MBTA has planned for Boston in the next Olympic Watch, only on Arlington Public News. I'm Tyler Trudeau.
It's really an honor that Boston was chosen as the city in the U.S. to represent the country, but as everybody has said, there are positives and negatives.
Yeah, well, the Summer Olympics are my favorite ones, so I wouldn't be entirely opposed to it.
We'll see what happens. Looking for things to do this cold and snowy month? Check out these upcoming shows and events in our arts and entertainment calendar.
Did you get a new tablet or smartphone over the holidays? Learn how to download ebooks and more from the Robbins Digital Collection on February 13th. Celebrate all the people you love. Bring a close friend to True Story Theater's Stories of Friendship on February 14th. The Arlington Philharmonic Orchestra performs its family concert, Musical Mavericks, featuring the work of Beethoven, Brahms, and Chiarappa on February 22nd. Take a look at what pet-related artifacts reveal about the attitudes and relationships early New Englanders had with their pets as the Arlington Historical Society continues its evening lecture series on February 24th. Join the Friends of Robbins Library and Arlington Garden Club for their biennial fundraiser, Books in Bloom. See floral displays depicting select books and enjoy live music by the Don Hemwall Trio on February 27th.
Which film will win Best Movie of the Year? Movie reviewer DeBenedictis shares his thoughts on the 2014 Oscar nominees.
Award season is here, and I have seen all of this year's nominees for Best Picture. I liked some more than I liked others, so I thought, why not rank them? Who knows, maybe my #1 pick will win this year. Let's find out. At number 8, I've got The Theory of Everything. Redmayne himself will most likely win for Best Actor, but the film is just so-so. I have it in last for a reason. 7th is The Imitation Game. Love Cumberbatch, love Knightley. Kinda enjoyed the movie. It's just not as fun or interesting as the rest of the films, but it's still worth watching. In at 6 is American Sniper. For some reason, I had very low expectations for this movie, so when I ended up enjoying it quite a bit, I was taken aback. Not perfect and surrounded by a great deal of controversy, but it's still worth seeing just to understand what all the fuss is about. 5th is Selma. No Oscar nod for the director, Ava DuVernay, or the actor, David Oyelowo, which is a shame because they craft one of the finer films to come out this year. A fascinating look at both the myth and the man, Selma transcends the other biopics on this list solely through the power of its message. 4th, Grand Budapest Hotel. Wes Anderson's latest has quickly stolen my heart and become my favorite of his filmography. It's a simple tale of love and friendship, but oh, how beautifully it is told. 3rd, Birdman. Magnificently shot, boisterously acted, and beguilingly well written, Birdman is a different breed of film. It is one living organism of filmic creativity and soars to immeasurable heights on its own ambition and bravado. In 2nd place is Whiplash. Any other year, this would have been my top pick. Kinetic, raw, inspiring, heartbreaking, and above all, gripping. This battle between teacher and student holds you from beginning to end. And as an added bonus, the music is spectacular. And in 1st, as if there were ever any doubt, is Boyhood. Never has a film felt more true to life than this one. This ambitious film will be talked about for many years, but what will last is the feeling it gives its viewers. A feeling of pure bliss. That's it. Who will win? Let's find out on the 22nd. With APN, I'm DeBenedictis. See you next time.
If you enjoy science fiction films, literature, or gaming, listen up. APN intern and sci-fi fan Julia Bloom attended Aresia, New England's largest and most diverse science fiction and fantasy convention, and reports on what she observed there.
Over Martin Luther King Day weekend, fans of science fiction, fantasy, and all things geek lined up for Aresia 2015 in Boston. Aresia is a convention that started in 1989. Today, over 4,000 people come from all over the country to enjoy the unique experience Aresia has to offer. Aresia's dealer's room offers everything from books to homemade chocolate. Speaking of chocolate, so we are here with Ariel Siegel. She is one of the booth vendors here at Aresia. What are you selling?
Chocolate. We have about 40 flavors of chocolate and several dozen different shapes that it comes in, ranging from ordinary bars to big exciting things.
Okay, do you make all this chocolate yourself?
Yes, I do.
And how easy or hard is it?
It's a pain in the neck. There's a lot of work that goes into making chocolate. It's surprisingly hard work, but it's a lot of fun. And part of the reason we have so many flavors is I do it out of love. I actually make some of my own molds because it's fun. It's a side business for me, and I do it because it's enjoyable, and I love seeing make people happy.
Aresia is also known for its film events, which showcase rare movies shot on 35 and 16mm film. One program, Trailer Park, is dedicated to viewing old and rare movie trailers.
There's no such thing as a mafia! Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only, the original, Victor Mature, in every little crook and man.
But the highlight of the convention are its special guests.
I'm a big believer in just because you're writing epic fantasy doesn't mean it all has to look like Tolkien, and it also doesn't have to I just don't believe in following the standard tropes and trends of the genre. Those tropes and trends have a place, and there's a certain awesomeness in playing with that. It's comfort food. But on the other hand, you can't eat comfort food all the time. Every so often you gotta try the snail, or you gotta try the well, I don't want to try the snail, but you have to try it and see if you like it before you decide that you don't.
So I'd like to talk a bit about your work. I was going through your website, leemoyer.com, and I noticed these little cards called the Small God series. Can you describe that?
The Small God series was inspired in part by Terry Pratchett's brilliant book, Small Gods, and each one represents a sort of icon or religious figure of a particular domain. Sometimes that domain is Paisley. Sometimes that domain is finding the right parking spot. Sometimes that domain is bad Lovecraftian humor. Pretty much anything that we encounter can have a domain, and it's just a question of embodying sort of who the god of that small or large domain would be.
Those interested in learning more about the convention may check out the website. Next year's convention will be January 15th to 18th, 2016 at the Westin Waterfront Hotel in Boston. For Arlington Public News, this is Julia Bloom.
In 2014, Arlington received a green grant from the state for the third time and used those funds to finance increased energy efficiency in several of our schools. APN explores the topic of green grants, past and future, with Arlington's energy manager.
Hello and welcome. My name is Gayatri Sundarajan, and I am here with Ruth Bennett, the Regional Energy Manager for Arlington and Bedford, to talk about Arlington's 2014 Green Grant. She helps the town lower their energy consumption, specifically for town buildings and for school buildings. So thank you so much for joining me in the studio today.
Thank you.
And so what is your role in the whole Green Grants?
So my role is to create the projects that we are going to apply for and coordinate the group that's going to implement the projects in our buildings. And then I write the application to the state with all the project scope, the estimate of the costs, and the reasoning behind why we chose these projects. In 2014, we put a new energy management system in the high school and in the Ottoson Middle School. We also put 2 new condensing boilers. These are high-efficiency boilers in the middle school. And we upgraded the rooftop units, which help with cooling and heating in the middle school.
And so how much energy would you think we saved?
Usually you wait a whole heating and cooling season to see how much energy you've saved with the new systems. But over the year, it'll probably be about $70,000 to $80,000 of our energy costs because of all of the improvements that we made in the high school and the middle school. So we save money a couple of ways. One is, for these projects, we get a rebate from the utilities, so the cost of the project goes down. We also lower how much energy we're using, so we pay for less energy. And the equipment is running more efficiently, and so therefore it lasts longer. So we're extending the life cycle of the equipment.
And so how did 2014's Green Grant go?
The process and the implementation went very well. We had one hitch, which was usually the Green Grants are awarded in June, and so we do a lot of the work in the summer when most schools are closed. But this year they awarded the grants a little bit later, so late July. So we didn't have as much time to do the work in the schools before school started again. We worked around the school schedule. So it was a little bit more challenging, but we still got it done by the end of 2014.
And are there any plans for Green Grant application in 2015?
Yes, absolutely. So we are applying. The applications are due in March, and hopefully they will be awarded in June. And we're looking at the Bishop School, the Brackett School, and possibly the library. And again, trying to put in energy management systems and an upgraded software system that will help us analyze if we have any faults going on in the equipment. The hope is for the community who's in the buildings, or the library, or the students in the schools, that the temperature will be much more comfortable. And it'll be better run, so there'll be less need to call outside contractors to repair things.
And in general, what does energy management mean for Arlington?
It means a lot of great things for Arlington. The first is that we're reducing our carbon footprint. So we're reducing how much carbon we are emitting as a community. It also means that we are paying less for energy. And as you know, energy costs are going up.
And so what does energy efficiency mean more personally to you, and why did you go into energy efficiency?
It's extremely important to me, and for the same reasons that I'm happy about what we're doing in Arlington. And so I'm trying to do my part in my own family, which is a small impact. But here I am able to have a larger impact in Arlington where not only are we lowering our energy consumption, but particularly in the schools, all the students get to see and hear what we're doing and learn about not only that there's climate change, but the things you can do right in your own community to lower our carbon footprint, to save our money for possibly more important resources for the schools and the town.
And so where can people go to get more information about the Green Grants and energy efficiency in general?
So on the Arlington website, there is a link to the Green page, and that will talk about what I do, as well as other town employees who are involved in lowering our carbon footprint and reducing waste.
Thank you so much for joining me in the studio today.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
This is Gayatri Sundararajan on behalf of Ruth Bennett, the Regional Energy Manager for Arlington and Bedford, reporting for Arlington Public News.
In our sports spotlight this week, we want to recognize the big boys basketball game between crosstown rivals Arlington High School and Arlington Catholic. Congratulations to the AHS Spy Ponders, who ran their unbeaten streak to 18 games with a 64-49 victory.
Tonight from the Kozlowski Gymnasium here at Arlington High School, we had the 26th annual Arlington Classic. Don Phelan, Rob Anthony here, and Rob, a great game here, and the three-point shooting of Josh Lee in the third quarter really helped Arlington, which was kind of in a funk for a lot of the night. Got back into the game, took the lead, and then they won it going away by a score of 63-49.
Yeah, it was a defensive struggle for much of the game. Three-point shooting came big for Arlington Catholic early, hit a few big three-pointers to jump out to a big lead. The Ponders clawed their way back, and then, as you point out, Don, the three-point shooting of Josh Lee put them over the top.
Arlington Catholic was led by Michael Mayer with 13 points, and Matt Wesolowski had 12. For Arlington High School, Miles Robinson had 24 points, Josh Lee had 18, and again, the Spy Ponders win the game tonight, 63-49. Reporting for Arlington Public News Sports, Rob Anthony and Don Phelan.
And finally, we want to thank everyone who participated in APN's first ever Valentine's Day project entitled Small Town, Big Heart. Dozens of you stopped by our mobile video booth at one of various locations around town to record a Valentine's message, generating much needed warmth amidst the frigid conditions. All the messages will be aired on our channels throughout the day on Valentine's Day, and you can also find them on our website at news.acmi.tv. Great job at showing the love, Arlington. I always love when you actually get to see members of the community coming together right in front of your eyes.
Yeah, and you know, I think especially in light of all the snow, it's great to see that everybody's still keeping the Valentine spirit, and I'm still hoping for some chocolate. Arlington Public News is a production of Arlington Community Media and functions as a gateway for local participation in issues and events of interest to the community.
Check out our latest segments on the web at news.acmi.tv and like us on Facebook. Join us next time for another edition of Arlington Public News. I'm Hannah Perlmutter.
And I'm Paul Werlin. See you next time.